Hey guys, it's Todd from Like Minded Lunatics, bringing you, it's another drink, play, swear. Hey, it's all we do around here. I mean, besides trying to find meaning in the world through story, it's all we've ever really tried to do around here. Welcome back to the channel, welcome back to Drink, Play, Swear, and welcome back to Like Minded Lunatics. You know that Like Minded Lunatics is not just me. It's also my buddy and writing partner, Mark Gifford, co-founder of Like Minded Lunatics, doing Friday night videos, the Monday video matchups. I mean, like 3/4 of the work around here. He does a lot. So if you're not checking out his stuff on the channel, you're really missing out. Please do so. And if you haven't done so already, please hit that subscribe button so we can see how big this family of weirdos, degenerates, and runaways is getting. We are like-minded if you are here and enjoying this stuff. Thanks for being here. What is it that we do here at Drink, Play, Swear? Well, it's exactly what it sounds like. We play a game, usually a classic one, pair it with a beverage. Oh, and yeah, I'm telling stories too. Yeah, I tell a story. So what are we playing today? Well, you can see it here. It's Golden Axe 3 in all of its beat-em-up arcade glory on the Sega Genesis. And pairing with it today, no surprise, this is a Jim Beam and Coke in a dark black glass. You know, get yourself something, if you haven't already, friend. That's ice cold refreshment, and this is Golden Axe 3. I'm excited about it. By the way, I'm playing on my absolute favorite controller of all time. I have Jim Longoria to thank for this. This is the 8-bit Doe. This is the SN30 Pro Plus, and I love this controller. I'm gonna say it's probably because I am a Super Nintendo style controller guy, a PlayStation style controller guy, as opposed to Xbox. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry. All right, look at this. We played Golden Axe 1 and 2 before on the YouTube channel. Now we're playing 3, and I really don't know this game very well, so we're gonna get into it, but it's a beat 'em up, right? It's like, how hard could it be? You're beating dudes up. The hardest thing to remember for me on the Genesis is that the A button is your special, B button being punch, C button being jump, and so you don't want to overuse the A button because that's your special. All right, what are we getting into in terms of the story today? Well, I thought I would get a little meta today and talk about storytelling for the story. Because I got to thinking, I don't know, it's like I've been thinking about the fact that storytelling is really the big reason why I do this. You know, yeah, it's called Drink, Play, Swear and everything. And yes, all three of those things are fun for me. I like to, I missed that. I like to have a beverage, and yes, I like to play video games, but really, you know, the reason why I'm here with you is because I want to always practice my storytelling skills, and this channel started over COVID when we couldn't get out in front of an audience, and so sometimes it's fun. You know, I don't like getting on the guy. Look at this disgusting purple snail. I accidentally got on him. I am not interested in this. Ugh. The tongue reminds me of Yoshi. You know, I don't like Yoshi. Thank God. Get me the fuck off of this thing. Do you know what I mean? All right. Storytelling. One thing I'm reminded of is that when it comes to stories, boy, humans really are almost obsessed with creating stories, with telling stories, that is, sharing stories with other people, and with listening to stories and taking them in. And what is it all for? Well, you could argue it's mostly for entertainment, but it's also because we're trying to learn something. We're trying to make sense of the world around us, right? And so we create story to do that. And that becomes very clear in these nonfiction storytelling series like The Moth, or like Mark and Lottie's series in Austin, Testify, or in the series I used to be a part of in San Antonio, Worth Repeating, is a part of TPR, right? We're trying to like make sense of the world. But I like to think about the fact that human beings are the only living beings on Earth that, well, tell stories. As far as we know, I mean, we do know that there are, somewhat complex communication methods that like primates use or that maybe dolphins use, but for the most part, it's us, right? And we do know that, or at least as far as we can tell, that we are the only living beings on Earth that apply meaning to event, right? And we also only know for sure that humans are the only, highly thinking race in the universe. Maybe we'll discover intelligent life elsewhere, but for now, this is all we're aware of. And so you start wondering, like, are we the only race of beings, living beings in the entire universe that tells stories? Well, we don't have any evidence otherwise. So that's pretty interesting. So then you got to start wondering, why are we so unique? Are we that much more intelligent? Is it a sign of intelligence? I'm not so sure. Of course. Look at this. You got a choice about where you go? Golden Axe 3. Good for you. You start wondering, are we the only race of beings that feels the need to do this? It seems to be so. And so for what reason? And is it worth anything? Can you attribute meaning to event? Well, I've always thought so as a kid and everything. But when I got to grad school, I read Alexander Camus. And Camus was a French-Algerian writer who is somewhat responsible for existentialism. And he never claimed responsibility for it. He didn't, say that he was an existentialist or, conform to their ideas. But the existentialists did get a huge amount of the foundation of their ideas from him. And one huge thing that Camus said was that perhaps there is no meaning in event, you see, and that this is purely a human concept, and just because it's a human concept doesn't mean it's worth anything. That maybe we can't really find meaning in event. That's interesting. All right, so let's get away from literature. Let's talk about some fun stuff. One of my favorite things is 80s cartoons and, drop me over the thing. 80s cartoons, toys, and comic books, okay? I'm a huge fan, where is it? I'm a huge fan of Masters of the Universe, right? He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. Well, one of my favorite cartoons from the 80s is that He-Man and the Masters of the Universe cartoon. And I heard this interview with Paul Dini. And Paul Dini was a writer on the He-Man and the Masters of the Universe cartoon. Now, most of the world would not know that because the He-Man cartoon writers are not all that well known. But Paul Dini would go on to write for Batman the Animated Series, okay? And he would go on to create Harley Quinn. And she's an immensely popular character, one of the most popular characters in the DC world these days. And in this interview, I heard, it was like a podcast, right? He's being interviewed by Kevin Smith. And Kevin Smith was so affected by Paul Dini's character that he named his daughter Harley because of the Harley Quinn character. Anyway, going back to when Paul Dini was starting out in the 80s, one of his first jobs out of school was writing for the He-Man cartoon. And they didn't know anything about these characters. But the creators of the figures, because they're just trying to sell toys, right? The creators of these figures, they walk into the writer's room with a milk crate full of toys. He-Man, Skeletor, Beastman, Man-at-Arms, Clawful, right? If you know the series, you know what I'm talking about. And told them, just, make up some stories. Because here's the thing. Kids to buy the products or to want the products, they need to know the story behind it. That's where I'm going, you see. Because for some reason, you couldn't be trusted, or the sales people didn't think that kids could be trusted to just enjoy the toys and make up their own story. They needed the story provided for them. This isn't just true of He-Man, it's true of most kids' properties. I recently watched a really fun documentary on the Transformers and the GoBots. Now, you know I'm a huge defender of the GoBots over the Transformers. Of course, I love me some Optimus Prime and some Megatron. I'm not talking garbage about the Transformers, and that 1984 movie, or whatever year it came out, is one of my favorite animated movies of all time. But the GoBots were first, and they're a Hanna-Barbera property. Hanna-Barbera rocks, you can't argue against that. Johnny Quest, Flintstones, Scooby-Doo, you know, the list goes on and on about how great. Get off me, bro. I'm sorry, this guy's distracting me. Anyway, the GoBots were great and the Transformers were great. The funny thing is those were Japanese properties originally, and those figures weren't even named in the Japanese market. When you bought the toy, it just had like a number, you know, just like toy number 4. It's like, you know, toy number 8. And the kids in Japan would just, you know, make their own stories up about these toys based on what they saw. But in America, for some reason, when we tried to market the GoBots and the Transformers, American marketers realized that they needed to build a story. And so they had to create names for these characters. They had to put them on, you know, 2 sides, good guys and bad guys. They had to label them as such, right? So in the Transformers, you have, you know, the Autobots and the Decepticons, and you clearly label them. I don't know. Are American kids dumber? Or do they just, I don't know, do they just need the story given to them more than Japanese kids? I honestly don't know Japanese culture well enough to compare the two. But I do know that if we're talking about the fact that we don't know if there is any intelligent life for sure outside of this planet, and that is that we might be the only race of beings in the universe that require story. I also think that Americans are uniquely tied to the need for story, even in their toys, that they want something given to them, that they're longing for their imagination to be captured to find meaning, that is. And yet Albert Camus told us that we didn't need meaning and that there might not be any. Well, we got to wrap up because we're running out of time here. But I guess in wrapping up, I will say that I don't know if life has meaning. This is a short segment. It's hard to like wrap all these things up. But what I do know is that my monkey brain wants to find meaning. And I don't know what that means on a cosmic level, but I do know that I enjoy wrapping up ideas in story. And I also know that it feels when I'm doing it and when I'm experiencing other writers in a pleasurable way, reading their stuff, watching their stuff, that it feels like it does matter. And so whether or not Camus was right about the fact that event has meaning doesn't really matter to me at this point because I find pleasure from it, and that's enough. All right, I don't even know if anything of this made sense today, but I had a good time playing Golden Axe with you and having a beverage. In between now and the next time I talk to you, I am Todd Wright. See ya.